Hi, Misha here, and if you saw my bird of prey video, you know recently I kind of broke down and picked up a ship from the Star Trek Universe collection, which is currently featuring some ships from Picard, but will later feature ships from other series. And after the bird of prey, I decided to pick up the USS Zheng He, the Inquiry class starship seen at the end of Picard Season 1, captained by William Riker, or maybe it was Thomas Riker, and we just don't know it yet. What a twist. But yeah, this was a modern late 24th century Federation starship. So what do I think about it? Now, one thing to point out about the Star Trek Universe collection, it's of the, I guess you'd say, large. It's not the XL or oversized or jumbo. It's of the larger size, like the Abrams ships and some of the movie ships like Voyager were in. So it's the in-between. It comes with the usual stand and is reasonably die-cast metal. The top of the star drive is metal. The saucer is metal. It's the bottom here. We get into the deflector or car grill. It's plastic, this area in here. And of course the nacelles. Honestly, it's a decently constructed ship. It does feel a little bit lighter than I would think. And I'm not sure why. Because it does use a good chunk of metal for the ship. But maybe it's because so much of the star drive is plastic. Again, this part is metal. But this in the bottom here is plastic. And it is an interesting look. Kind of rounded and angular at the same time. Now, in universe, the Inquiry class is a new generation of starship meant for use as a rapid response. It is built to be fast and powerful and well armed, but also easy to produce and requiring a relatively small crew. This has a length of about 630 meters, so a little bit shorter than a Galaxy class, but it would have less volume just based on how it's shaped, and so about 50 meters less than a Sovereign as well. But it only requires a crew of roughly 500. So, modern phasers, a blade of armor. It's capable of very high warp, 9.9. And we have a few variants. The saucer stays the same, as does the deflector. The difference is with the nacelles. This is the so-called short nacelle version, where they're upswept. There's also a long nacelle version, where they kind of cant downwards. And the tips can either be red or yellow. We have a shuttle bay in the back here, in the usual position. Actually, for whatever reason, I know they're not practical, but I actually do like how they did the impulse manifolds here. Kind of recessed into the saucer. I don't know, just kind of neat. And the bridge seems quite well fortified, well armored. And it has the stretched out saucer of newer Fed ships, but it's different. And we have this kind of recess in the front, which I presume is meant to be a secondary deflector, but I could be wrong. And then we have this kind of step back here. Again, not dissimilar to some other Federation ships we've seen. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I think it's a logical progression as a ship from what we've seen in the 2003, the 2370s and 2380s. It kind of keeps on what Voyager and the Enterprise E and other later ships kind of started. And it was designed by John Eaves, and it was originally a concept for a video game, which makes sense, and kind of recycled for Star Trek Picard. So all that's to the good. I'm glad that they did a new ship. They didn't just send a Galaxy or a Sovereign out. But in the show, it's easy to criticize. The ship here, captained by Riker, was one of 200, and that's a ludicrous number for this type of ship. And the fact that they were all essentially the same ship. The fleet was, as it's often called rightly, a cut and paste, a copy and paste fleet. And this is because, of all things, they decided to cut the CGI budget for the final episodes of Picard, which is ludicrous. If you're going to do that, just send a 10-ship fleet. Don't just cut and paste the same ship over and over and over. That's stupid. I don't think they even put registries on the ships. So that's dumb. As much would be said there. But anyway, the ship itself is odd, but not necessarily in a bad way. And I think it is growing on me. I actually really like the nacelles, and I love the forward swept pylons and the saucer. The only thing that gives me pause is this deflector. I get what they were going for. It is a different look, still identifiable as a Starfleet deflector, and kind of, if you think about it, similar to the deflector we see on the Defiant, just larger. So it fits. It's just, yeah, it is what it is, but it does give it kind of that sleek, thin profile look. So, while it's probably not my favorite feature, I'll live with it. And for what they had to work with, I think Eaglemoss did a perfectly good job. I mean, I would have loved it if it was all metal, including the pylons. And quite possibly for what these cost, it should be. But such is life when you're doing licensed products. It's not just the cost of the model itself, it's the cost of the licensing. Plus, these do come with full manuals and all that. Not manuals, sorry, magazines. Too used to gun stuff. As of right now, the Romulan Bird of Prey and this are the only ones I have from the Universe collection. But I will probably pick up more. For example, there's another Romulan ship coming out. That seems neat. I will probably see what we have to do there. And if any other Federation ships come out, I'll probably be a sucker for them. So it'll be interesting to see how that collection progresses now that 2020 is over and it seems like shipments are kind of getting back on track. And it goes on the stand, much as you'd expect. It doesn't fit super tight, but there's no real way to knock it off, and because most of the weight's up here, it's not back heavy. It sits on the stand perfectly fine. It's not going anywhere unless you literally knock it off. These bigger ships tend to balance pretty well. So what do you think? Love it or hate it, or somewhere in between? Let me know. Just trying to have some fun here. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.